You can't hide in this world. It took all of 3 minutes to get all the information. And as for litigating his parents, I don't need a reason. You're gonna have to defend yourself, regardless. That's the thing about the American
Case involves a man who I am not going to name, and the only reason I'm not going to name him is because at the time of the allegations against him was in fact a minor, and that of course is relevant.
I've never seen any of them being aggressive, respected people. They started from zero.
Get it? I will rip her to shreds.
She's body bag.
She has body bag for sure. She has no chance of survival. I don't see how she gets on.
The stuff I heard was shocking, and he gives me all the evidence that was shocking, which are not in the lawsuit. Like, there's some mad stuff.
I did this by creating a webcam studio.
I went to the room, smashed the room up, told her I knew what she did. She sent me all the money, but that has happened to me before.
The Tate brothers sued her for telling the truth, and now she's fighting back. For 2 years, the US-based victim in Andrew and Tristan Tate's first human trafficking case in Romania has been relentlessly attacked by the Tates and their goons on social media. The woman, who is listed as Jane Doe, met Tristan Tate online in around November of 2021 when she was 20 years old. She met him at one of their war room events and began what Tristan presented as a romantic relationship. And after several weeks, Tristan told her that he had feelings for her and that he wanted her to move to Romania with him. He paid for her plane ticket and flew her to Bucharest. From the first day she was there, he was trying to convince her to do and let him manage her own OnlyFans account. He put her in a house full of other young women who were working as workers for the Tates. Once she got to Romania, she barely saw any of Tristan, raising alarm bells for her that he had recruited her to Romania under false pretenses. She observed that the women who were working for the Tates on OnlyFans were working insane hours, exhausted, malnourished, and unhappy. She says that Yasmina, one of the women who has produced videos saying that she is not a victim, told her that she knew things about the Tate brothers that if she ever told anyone about would make her end up dead. When she spoke to the other woman in the case who the Tates have attempted to sue, who is listed as Mary Doe, Mary told her she had done some work for them with the other women on TikTok but had not been paid. All of this made Jane Doe suspect that she had been recruited into a sex trafficking operation. After Jane Doe and Mary Doe compared each other's stories, they realised that the women associated with the Tate brothers were working on webcam and that the women in the house were collaborating with the Tate brothers to groom and manipulate them. So they decided to escape. They bought tickets to London and started documenting evidence so they could report the criminal activity they had witnessed to the authorities once they had escaped to London. Jane communicated her fears and concerns to her parents and a family friend who was a sergeant in the Marines. The Marine reported what sounded to him like a trafficking operation to the US Embassy in Romania. This resulted in the raid of the Tate brothers' compound in April 2022. The raid which Andrew lied to the world about, saying it was just them being swatted.
So news accounts in the United States say that the US Embassy in Bucharest, Romania was tipped off to your misdeeds and alerted the local authorities you might be committing human trafficking. Given that this is the same charge they leveled against Julian Assange or a species of it, skeptical, but I want to know the details. Were you arrested for human trafficking? What happened?
Yeah, I was not arrested. So what happened is I suffered from a case of swatting. It's very popular with people who are large on the internet. Many large YouTubers have been swatted. It's where you call the police and you say somebody has a gun or there's a hostage situation and the SWAT team arrives. Somebody made a phone call to the American Embassy saying that I was holding women at my house. The police arrived. They turned up. They investigated. They realized that nobody was in the house against their will. There was no crime committed. They said, okay, you're not a suspect, but you are a witness to this, along with me, my brother, the housekeeper, the gardener. Everybody who was in the premises at the time was labeled a witness. We had to go to the police station for 45 minutes for pieces of paper. We filled them in and we were let go. I was swatted. Nobody was hurt. There's no human trafficking. There's no women who were tied up. There's none of these things. It's all just complete fallacy. And I discussed this in long, if anyone who's interested to understand the true story, in my long format video, freetopg.com, I explained exactly what happened. I was swatted like everybody else, but just because they put the tone of human trafficking on it, I'm now stuck with this very unfortunate label, and it's truly disgusting.
From there, Jane Doe cooperated with authorities. She allowed them to make a copy of her phone, she gave a statement, underwent a psychological evaluation and an IQ test, and provided a sworn testimony in court before a Romanian judge. And for simply cooperating with Romanian authorities, the Tates have tried to ruin her life. They've sued Jane, her parents, and the Marine, slandered her, doxed her, sent all of their social media goons after her, and forced her into hiding for her own safety. They thought they would scare her into backing down and retracting her testimony. But it has backfired in a massive way. She is countersuing both Andrew and Tristan Tate for $5 million, with 2 claims related to human trafficking, a claim related to violating Florida state law, and claims for civil conspiracy, defamation and defamation per se, malicious prosecution, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. This entire counterclaim is incredibly damning, and it includes some never-before-seen text exchanges from the second trafficking case in Romania that are absolutely wild and we will get into in this video. But first, this content is made possible thanks to all of our supporters. If you'd like to help, you can join as a member or buy a Gadget or coffee. You can find these links in the description. Okay, now let's get into this document that the Tate brothers do not want you to see. And when I say they don't want you to see it, I'm not being hyperbolic. As I was preparing this video, the contents of this counterclaim were sealed at the request of the Tate's lawyers, but not before we got our hands on it, so too slow, you absolute losers. Before we get into some of this newly revealed evidence, which further proves that the Tate brothers are degenerate child predators, I want to show you what this countersuit lays out extremely clearly and what really is at the heart of it. The Tate brothers witness intimidation and harassment of Jane Doe. Jane Doe is a young 23-year-old woman who was 20 years old when this all happened. She has little resources and virtually no support network, which the Tates are well aware of. She did not speak out in the media. She just cooperated in a criminal investigation and went into hiding. Yet the Tates launched a PR and smear campaign against her. In January 2023, the Tates sent a legal demand letter threatening to sue her and her parents for $30 million if she did not recant her testimony to the Romanian authorities. They filed 2 other frivolous lawsuits against her and a lawsuit against her pro bono attorney, in what was just blatant witness intimidation. Andrew, the self-proclaimed smartest man on the planet, was caught recorded on jail phone calls, instructing their cousin Luke and other associates to create videos smearing Jane and Mary Doe. In these calls, Andrew said, "Keep going, good job," over and over again, different ones. We need the girls to cry, be frustrated, angry. Around the same time, highly salacious, humiliating and defamatory videos began circulating online and were shared and viewed thousands of times. The Tate brothers hired investigators to harass and question everyone that Jane Doe ever dated or had a sexual relationship with. The investigators told some of the men that Jane had made allegations against them, which was a lie, in order to get them to talk about Jane Doe. The Tates had people go to Jane's parents' house and take pictures of the home to harass and intimidate them. At this part of the lawsuit, we are introduced to one of the main characters when it comes to the Tate slander and harassment campaign of Jane and Mary Doe, Sulaiman Ahmed. Sulaiman is now known for being a prominent pro-Palestine account on Twitter, but prior to October 7, he was almost exclusively a Tate meat-riding propaganda account. In February 2023, Sulaiman travelled to Palm Beach to get dirt on Jane Doe. He tweeted at the time that he was travelling for a major story. He has since deleted this tweet and started going with the absurd story that he happened to be in Florida with his family and got a call from a source that had damning information about Jane Doe.
Because when I was in Florida, I went on a family trip to Florida. This source reaches out to me, and so I'm in Orlando, Florida, Disneyland, and literally is like, I'm in Palm Beach. Obviously, I didn't know this chick was in Palm Beach, obviously, at the time. And so he's like, I'm in Palm Beach. So he gives like a lot of evidence to show like he's a legitimate source. And so then I basically go there, meet the guy, and legit, my mind is blown. Like the stuff I'm learning, I record the interview, I have it all. The stuff I heard was shocking. He gives me other evidences which shocking, which are not in the lawsuit. Like there's some mad stuff. And then what happens is then I pass his information on to the Tates and so on and so forth. And then they take it. Then I know that the legal case is starting. So then I pull it off.
As it mentions in the counterclaim, it is believed that the Tates paid Sulaiman, and it's hard to imagine why else he would do all of this, to interview Marlon Fisher, who assaulted Jane Doe when she was 17 and he was in his 30s. Fisher made a copy of Jane Doe's cell phone without her permission, shared that private information with Ahmed, who shared it with the Tates. Sulaiman then illegally distributed some of this private content on Twitter and made post after post, thread after thread, harassing and slandering her. The Tates, Sulaiman and the rest of their goons spread the baseless and hurtful lie that she was responsible for the suicide of Dustin Milner, a man who she had had a previous relationship with, who had a history of mental health issues. They knew that this lie would hurt her, because during their time together, Jane Doe had confided with Tristan about how painful his death was for her, and how much she cared about him. On the 20th of December 2024, just months ago as of the recording of this video, Andrew Tate claimed that Jane Doe had accused 6 other men of the exact same crime of human trafficking as the Tate brothers. Have a listen to how outrageous these lies are.
I'm sure you can't answer some of those legal questions, but you said there's an ongoing suit. Could you maybe detail what you are asking for in that suit? Are you asking for damages?
Yes, I have to be careful what I say because I believe there's an injunction. I can't say her name. I can't say certain things. But effectively, the girl who started all of this is a serial liar. And she accused us of human trafficking her, which is such a strange claim. We can go down the conspiracy rabbit hole that she was sent to do that. We can go down the conspiracy rabbit hole that Decault jumped on it because they wanted promotions. We're not sure. But she accused us of human trafficking. But she's accused 6 other men of the exact same crime.
Have they been arrested or tried?
One of them killed himself during the trial. So this is a genuinely evil person. And every single man she ever met, as soon as he didn't buy her a handbag, she accused them.
That was 100% lies and slander. Jane Doe has accused 0 people in her past of human trafficking. She did not accuse Justin Milner of this, and he did not commit awaiting trial for any such crime. Sulaiman Ahmed shared an illegal recording of Jane Doe in complete distress, telling Fisher about Milner's death when she had first found out. She was crying, hysterical, and in utter pain. Sulaiman Ahmed truly is a sick freak. Although it is just believed that Sulaiman was paid by the Tates, one man that we know accepted payment from the Tates to slander and harass Jane Doe was Ryan Dawson. We know this because when Dawson had a falling out with Myron Gaines of Fresh and Fit, Myron leaked the DMs showing that Ryan had travelled to Florida all the way from Korea to follow up with an ex-boyfriend of a Tate accuser, telling Myron that Tate actually pays, so their stuff comes first. Ryan Dawson was another who relentlessly attacked Jane Doe on Twitter, and we know that he was paid for it. The next degenerate who is mentioned in the lawsuit for viciously attacking Jane Doe is Candace Owens. Candace's husband, George Farmer, is an old friend of Andrew Tate. In 2023, Candace spent an entire episode of her YouTube show smearing Jane and Mary Doe. She repeated the lie that Jane was responsible for Dustin Milner's death. And most disgusting of all, Candace repeated one of the Tate's lies that Jane Doe had previously falsely accused a man, Keith Fox, who is currently serving a prison sentence for molesting 2 minors, one of which was Jane Doe. As you'll see in this edit by Milk Bar TV, Candace beeped out the pedophile Keith Fox's name to protect his identity, but repeated Jane Doe's full legal name over 100 times during the course of this video. Milk Bar edits out Jane's name when Candace mentions it in this edit.
Yoga instructor under arrest charged with having an inappropriate relationship with a student.
The first case involves a man who I am not going to name.
Instead of doing a yoga pose as shown here in this 2015 video, 58-year-old Keith Fox posed for a mugshot Tuesday. Police say he had sex with a 15-year-old girl.
The only reason I'm not going to name him is because at the time of the allegations against him, was in fact a minor, and that of course is relevant. So we just want to be ethical here and not expose his name so that people can look up the case.
The arrest report shows that the teen's mother hired a private investigator to follow her daughter and Fox. Last June, while Fox's wife was away on business, the investigator saw the teen at the front window of Fox's home, quote, in the nude, touching one another in a manner.
So we just want to be ethical here and not expose his name so that people can look up the case because, as I said, she was underage at the time.
She did talk to detectives, provided lots of details.
Other details, according to Delray Beach Police, date back to February last year.
It started off with just a very close relationship between a teen student and her yoga instructor. He made a few inappropriate comments.
Police say those escalated to several serious allegations against Fox. Those include that he touched her in his car and offered a Thai massage.
Of course, there's a reasonable worry that there might be other victims.
The first case involves a man who I am not going to name, and the only reason I'm not going to name him is because at the time of the allegations against him was in fact a minor, and that of course is relevant. And not expose his name so that people can look up the case because, as I said, she was underage at the time. Essentially, it was believed that she was having sexual relations with him, and the courts found that to be true, and he is now been sentenced to 24 years in prison.
Delray Beach Police arrested Fox on a charge of sexual battery on a victim over 12 years old. He remains here in a jail cell tonight after a judge denied him bond.
So we just want to be ethical here and not expose his name.
121 times Candace mentioned Jane Doe's full name in that video, while she protected the identity of the pedophile Keith Fox. Only recently has that video finally been removed from YouTube, but it is far too little too late. Candace Owens is a vile, disgusting freak. As for the rest of the Tates' attacks on Jane Doe, in 2023 they filed criminal complaints against Jane and Mary Doe in Romania, alleging that they had given false testimony and misled Romanian authorities. These allegations were quickly dismissed and the Tates lost their appeal. Funnily enough, they never bring this loss up with their fans. They also sent their army of little tater tots to make and share harassing posts about Jane Doe and share them all over social media. For many months, she was viciously and relentlessly attacked by Tate's supporters. The Tate's bumbling lawyer, Joseph McBride, has made many public statements defaming Jane Doe. He says that she has been falsely accusing and exploiting men for 10 years. She's 22 years old, which means that according to this idiot, she has been exploiting men since she was 12 years old. McBride has even publicly said that if she recanted her statements, this all goes away. In this interview with Fresh and Fit, which is cited in the lawsuit.
In the Romanian case, would she have to go back to Romania and testify in trial?
If it reaches a certain point, surely. And she'll also have to endure my cross-examination here in the civil case, right? We're not gonna.
Oh yeah, she has to take the stand in a civil case.
Hell yeah, she has to take. She's a defendant. The idea of me having her on the stand.
Oh, you're gonna kill her, bro.
Forget it. I will rip her to shreds.
Yeah. Body bag.
She has body bag for sure. She has no chance of survival. I don't see how she gets on and endures this. At some point, she's going to have to cop out to the truth.
And just so the audience understands, because so you guys might be wondering, well, hold on, she's a defendant. Why is she taking a stand? Guys, she has no Fifth Amendment privilege in a civil case.
Nope.
So she has to take the stand.
And discovery is a whole lot more invasive.
In the civil case.
Oh,
so so you guys have, because you guys have, now I see why they don't want you guys to put the evidence out, because through discovery, you have all their phone records.
It's depositions, phone records. I mean, we're going after all of it.
Do you think she's going to go to trial? I see her settling.
Look,
she doesn't want to have to go up against you in the stand. She has no Fifth Amendment privilege. She has to testify truthfully. She's going to be on there on the stand. You're going to beat her up and you're going to attack her with her character, the text messages. You said you guys did discovery, which means you have all of her records. You probably have videos of her doing stupid shit as well, and that's all going to come out in court.
Right.
During the trial. Like, all of that stuff is going to come out. And he's going to use it against her.
In the alternative, she can just tell the truth. Right? This is what this is about. Just tell the truth, and the whole thing just stops. Like,
on top of using interviews like this to intimidate Jane Doe, McBride took it as far as repeatedly doxing her, posting Google Drive links to court documents which included unredacted confidential documents from the case in Romania, which included Jane Doe's full name, her parents' home address, her date of birth, and her passport number. The Tates directed their lawyer to file a frivolous lawsuit on behalf of Yasmina and Beatrice, these two women who are listed as victims in the Romanian trafficking case and are under the control of the Tates, against Jane Doe and her parents. The Tates even convinced Marlon Fisher to sue Jane and her lawyer, causing Fisher to admit in public documents that he committed statutory rape. McBride said in a Twitter space talking about Fisher, "We got him to the point where he was competent enough to go public with his case and sue them in court." The Tates have made threats towards Jane Doe on social media and repeatedly made threats that she will go to prison. Here are 3 of Tristan's posts on Twitter threatening her, saying that the prosecutors will wish they did their job and arrested this girl, that the CCTV will help him imprison and sue her in American courts, and that she will go to prison. Bookmark this, the wheels are in motion. All of these methods are part of Tate's playbook: the doxing, the frivolous lawsuits, the slander. We know this, as usual, because of Andrew's big mouth. This podcast featuring Andrew and Rich Cooper is linked in the lawsuit as an example of how Andrew attacked someone he had an argument with on Twitter in a very similar way to how we've seen him relentlessly attack Jane Doe.
You can't hide in this world. It took all of 3 minutes to get all the information. And as for litigating his parents, I don't need a reason. You're going to have to defend yourself. Regardless, that's the thing about the American legal system. You cannot ignore it. I don't care if it costs me $1 million to take $1,000 out of your bank. You're going to be in court twice a month for the rest of your human years. I don't care. I will sue you for any and every reason forever. And you're going to have to hire lawyers and turn up forever. I will do that. I'm that guy. I'm petty. I'm petty and I've got a lot of money and a lot of time. So it's not even about guilty. It's not about why. It's just about because I can. It's one of many, many things I was going to do. I'd buy the property next to his father's Airbnb and list it for free. I will bankrupt you. You don't understand the levels I will go to. I'm that guy. And he felt it because people turned up at his door. Once I had his address, I started putting, I didn't want to get banned from Twitter. Obviously, it happened in the end anyway. Yeah. But at first I put his street name, then I put his house number. And then when guys turned up at his house, I had to fly some friends of mine from Vegas to LA. Like, I had to spend money on this shit. This took time out of my life. When he looked out the window and saw the SUV, then he starts apologizing on the internet. Like, oh, bitch. I still might litigate him into the ground. Why not? What else have I got to do? Anybody could run their mouth to me. I could do the same thing to them. I've turned up at dudes' houses before. I put it on Twitter.
Yeah.
I do this.
The final paragraph in this section of the counter lawsuit that covers the Tate brothers' harassment and witness intimidation of Jane Doe says Jane was only in Romania for 6 days, but because she did the right thing, because she cooperated with a criminal investigation. The Tate brothers have sought to destroy her life. This brings me to the end of this video, and there's still so much juice in this lawsuit that I feel like is important to share with you all. This is probably going to have to be a 3-part series, and you will want to make sure you don't miss part 2. It will show how the Tates' frivolous lawsuits against Jane Doe have monumentally backfired, with some never-before-seen text exchanges from the second case in Romania released for the first time in the counter-lawsuits, which are devastating for the Tates, revealing even more evidence that they are child predators. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss this one. And lastly, if Jane Doe does happen to see this, I hope you know just how many people have got your back.